is any work for me. And when I go back to the house, I hear that woman's mouth preaching and crying, tell me that I'm lying about a job that I never could find.
And that was a little bit of Get a Job as performed by the House Brand Band. Let's turn now to the idea of a guaranteed jobs program. First, I'd like to say that the government already has a number of tools to help stimulate the creation of jobs if we're willing to fund them. For example, they can use monetary policy, that is, the Federal Reserve and banking system, to stimulate more investment by businesses, which means they would hire more people, or to stimulate demand by consumers, which means that that would also stimulate more business investment and hiring. Or they can contract with private businesses to do work that wouldn't be done without the government funding it, using contracts, loans, subsidies of various kinds to induce firms to hire people and do that work. Or they can hire people directly to work for the government, like hiring more teachers or firefighters, etc. And then finally, as we saw during the pandemic, they can send checks to consumers to stimulate more demand and get businesses more business, and therefore they will hire more people. So in there, I want you to keep in mind the idea of a guaranteed basic income that could stimulate demand as well. So there's different ways that the government has to stimulate job creation. Now, what does a guarantee of a job for everybody who wants one add to this? Well, there would be a residual of people who are still unable to find a job even though they want one. Presumably, this is aimed at them to make sure they can find a job. Now, are there any side effects that are attached to a job guarantee? Well, I think there are, and the three big ones that are worth mentioning right today are, number one, how do you set pay levels? If you set them too low compared to the private market, then in effect the government is making people work for poverty wages. But if you set them a little too high compared to the private sector, then people will be induced to move out of the private sector and take government jobs, which means the government is expanding, creating additional costs for taxpayers. Another problem is that of matching the workers who still want work with the jobs that the government creates, and assume these are not just make work jobs, they're jobs for people to do something useful. Now, are they going to be able to find willing workers with the right abilities and skills and education level to be able to do the jobs that they're creating? And are those people living in the right locations for the job? The work has to be done here. The people are living in a different part of the country. Are they willing to move? By guaranteeing a job, you're guaranteeing that you can match people up with jobs that they're able to do that make some economic sense. And then finally, if you're guaranteeing a job, does that mean you can't fire people? What about people that want a job but don't really want to do the work? Shirkers. Are you going to guarantee them a job? What about people that can't get along with their coworkers because of personality problems? Are you going to guarantee them a job as well, even though they might help destroy the morale of the work organization and require a lot of supervision attention? So there's various negative side effects associated with guaranteeing jobs. Why is it that important? Or put it this way, is there an alternative to guaranteeing jobs? I think there are. There's ways to help those people, the residual people that are having trouble finding jobs and want to work, help them to find jobs. That would be that the government would fund, first of all, training and education programs to help prepare people for the jobs that are available. Number two, job placement services that help match people to jobs that fit their particular abilities and skills and education level. And number three would be funding relocation services so that people have an easier time moving to where jobs are. We have a number of types of government programs that can do those things. It's just a matter of being willing to fund them. So with all that in mind, my position is that it's good for the government to try to stimulate jobs so that as many people who want jobs as possible can find a job that matches their abilities. And it's good to fund services that help prepare people for jobs, but guaranteeing jobs is not strictly necessary and is probably not worth it given the various negative side effects that will come with it.